Hello.
Hello, can you?
I can hear you, but not see you.
Okay, just a minute. I think it should be okay now.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
All right. Let me introduce you quickly. We have Dr. Syed Gouda today. Dr. Gouda hails from Egypt, but he has a Hong Kong passport. And Dr. Gouda is a scholar and poet himself. And he's a specialist on Chinese and many other meters, poetic meters, and has done a lot of work on that. So I invited him today to talk to us about traditional Chinese meter, and he will give some examples. And so let's welcome Dr. Gouda. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let me start by sharing this PPT I prepared. And confirm with me if you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, today, as you can see from the title, we're going to talk about classical Chinese meters in the Tang Dynasty, because actually classical Chinese meter is really so rich. For a person who is not Chinese like me, before I studied classical Chinese meter, I thought that it's just these 4 characters per line, or 5 or 7, or that's all. But actually, after studying the classical Chinese meters in details, I discovered that it's so rich that I don't think there is any other language, classical language, that has that rich meter as I found in the classical Chinese meter. Even when we study the modern Western meters and free verse, prose verse, everything, you can find all of this in the classical Chinese meters. Today we'll focus only on the meter that was prevailed in the Tang Dynasty. It came under different names. For example, you may refer to it as Li Shi. In English, usually it's called regulated verse. Regulated verse meaning, regulated. It comes in a pattern returned again and again. Or it can also, you can also refer to it as Tinti, either Tintiantadin or Distin, meaning close or near these days. So it's in English, you may say modern form. And this comes in contrast to the Gushi, right? The Gushi is the ancient verse that was prevailed before the Tang Dynasty. In the Tang Dynasty, during that golden age of Chinese civilization, Chinese poetry and everything, also the meter was so much influenced by this ancient verse, by the Gushi, by the way they used rhythm and meter. But it was more complicated. During the Tang Dynasty, it was more complicated. And because it still received that influence from the Gushi, so there was another pattern other than the regulated verse, other than the Li Shi. There was another pattern that was a mix between what was prevailed in the Tang Dynasty and what they got from the Gushi, from the ancient verse. And so it was like mixture. And that was called, you may refer to it as Guti. And here you have to differentiate between Gushi and Guti. Gushi is the old ancient verse, classical verse, but Guti is that new pattern that prevailed in the Tang Dynasty, okay? And that was like a mixture between the rules and the principles of the ancient verse, Gushi, and the new meters and the new rules that were introduced during the Tang Dynasty. You may also refer to it as Wangti, or Gufeng, ancient style, Or you say Gu Feng Shi Li Shi, meaning it's mixed ancient style regulated verse. Or you may refer to it as Ru Li Gu Feng. All these names refer to the same thing. And that is a bit different from Li Shi, which is much more strict. It's very strict, this Li Shi, because it has some strict rules for the poets to follow. However, the poets during that time, they also, they deviated from these rules at will. Tu Fu did that. Li Bai was very famous of deviating from all. He broke all the rules at will, of course. That he didn't break these rules not because he couldn't follow them, no, because he was innovator. He was innovator in the way he used rhythm, and he managed to use rhythm to express the right meaning he wants to express. For example, when he wants to express the meaning of his meaning, that he's in a hurry, he's in a rush, he uses this trisyllabic, censure, only 3 characters per line. When it's so, then it's 5. When it's prolonged, when it took longer, according to the meaning in the poem, took longer time, longer duration, he extended it to 7 lines, and sometimes 7 lines followed by 3 lines, and they can be read together, so it's like 10 lines. He's so genius, and just a great example of what the American poet and critic Ezra Pound said, rhythm must have a meaning. Ezra Pound said, rhythm must have a meaning. But of course, only great poets can use rhythm and change the rhythm of their poetry according to the meaning they want to deliver. Li Bai was one of those great poets. So the form of the poem in the Tang Dynasty changed or took different names according to the length of the poem. If the poem is 4 lines, then it's called Cueji, quatrain regulated verse. If it's 6 lines, meaning sestet meaning 6 lines, then it's Liu Qi Xiaoli. Or octave, meaning 8 lines. Usually it's 8 lines. The regulated verse, it's usually comes in octave form, meaning 8 lines. 8 lines, Li Shi. And of course, all the others were used, but the Li Shi refers to the 8-line poem. Or Pai Li Shi when it's more than 8, when it's 10 or more. And there is also this Bai Liang Ti, which is every line should be rhymed. It's called Bai Liang Ti. In the classical, during the Tang Dynasty, the foot, which is the musical unit, the rhythmical unit that's used in the poetry, and you can find it in any poetry, English, French, any poetry you study. In Chinese, it's called ping and zi. Ping is the level tone, and usually we refer to it with this hyphen, or minus, let's say, and zi, deflected tone. Deflected tone is, we refer to it as plus. And in the old time, there were four tones. 4 tones. One is, the first is ping, and then shang, and then qi, and then ru. Ping sheng, shang sheng, qi sheng, and ru sheng. However, the modern Mandarin, this ru sheng doesn't exist anymore. It still exists in some dialects in southern China. And some dialects, still until now, they have this ru sheng. But modern Putonghua doesn't have this ru sheng anymore. But what we have now is that ping level, the ping sheng, divided into 2. One is yin, yin ping sheng, and one is yang ping sheng. So the first and the second tone in the modern Putonghua, they represent ping in the classical Chinese poetry too, while the third and the fourth tones in modern Chinese, we refer or represent this zi, the deflected tones. There are some patterns according to these four tones. Remember that these four tones were not used in poetry before the Tang Dynasty. Only beginning from the Tang Dynasty, these four tones got more important, and the poetry and the rhythm of poetry was based on the regulation and the variations of these tones of ping and zi. So these are four formats, four patterns for the ping rhyme. If we want to know the rhyme, whether it's ping rhyme or zi rhyme, we have to look at the even lines, not at the odd lines, meaning it's not according to the first line and the third line and the fifth line. No, it's according to the second line, the fourth line, the sixth line, and so on. So for here, for example, this is, we take this as 20, or this pattern 20. If it's more than that, if it's Lushe, if, for example, these 4 lines, if it's 8 lines, it's repeated. The same pattern repeats. So for example, this one, zi zi ping ping zi ping zi zi ping. Then ping 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 zi 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 ping ping. That means this is the second line and this is the fourth line, ends with ping. Then we know that this is a ping rhymed poem. The same with all the other patterns. There are different patterns, but all, as we can see, the second and the fourth ends with ping. Then we know this is ping rhyme. Here, for example, this is the chords of these, the first tone pattern. This is how we would represent it. Plus, plus, minus, minus. So when you look at these signs and you know right away that this is zi zi ping ping zi, ping ping zi zi ping, ping 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 zi 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 ping ping, and so on and so forth. Let's take an example of the first pattern. We'll take a poem as an example of this first tone pattern. Remember the pattern. Okay, remember the pattern. It starts with zi zi ping ping zi. This is the first line, and then the second line is just to the opposite, and then the third line ping 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 zi zi, and then the fourth line is the opposite of the third line, and we are going to explain all of that now. Let's take this poem, for example. If we read this poem and we'll try to convert all the tones into ping and zi, we will find exactly matching the first pattern. Exactly, no deviation, no breaking away from any rule. Very perfect example of this first pattern. You can go through it line by line, but here in front of you, you will find it exactly zi zi ping ping zi, because third, fourth, then first, fourth. That means zi zi ping ping zi, and so on. Okay. The second pattern, the second tone pattern is, this is the chords. This is the rhythm of the second tone pattern. Starts with 3 ping, ends with 2 zi, and then the second line is the opposite of the first line. Then there is variation in the third line, and the fourth line is the opposite of the third. There must be some variations, and we're going to explain that soon. This is the third tone pattern, the fourth tone pattern. Remember, all of them ends with ping rhyme. Of course, the third line doesn't have to be rhymed, okay? And even the second line doesn't have to be rhymed. If we look at, for example, here, this is the first pattern. Only the second and the fourth are rhymed. So if we convert it into English rhythm, English meter, it will be A, B, A, B, C, B. It will be A, B, C, B, because the first and the third don't rhyme. It's only the second and the fourth. The second one, it will be same, A, B, C, B. Okay, but the third and the fourth tones, they have more. They have 3 rhymes. So the second line also rhymes. The first one. The first rhymes with the second, rhymes with the fourth. So it's A, B, A. The fourth pattern is also the same, A, B, A. Okay. So these are the 4-tone patterns, but with zi rhyme. Zi rhyme. As you can see, the second line and the fourth line ends with zi. Then we know right away that this is zi rhyme and the same. All this is the second pattern, third, fourth, same idea. So what is this ping zi? Ping zi together, they are 1 foot. 1 foot, zu, yin zu. This is 1 foot. And when they are used interchangeably, and when sometimes the poet deviates from the rules and use something called inversion, meaning change the ping into tzu and the tzu into ping sometimes to create more diversion in the rhythm. But together, ping tzu, this is 1 foot. But this is 1 foot. If we just say ping tzu, that means it's disyllabic foot. Disyllabic meaning it has only 2 syllables. Ping tzu, only 2 syllables. But it may come into or as 3 syllables, like ping ping tzu, or tzu tzu ping, or ping ping ping, or tzu tzu, whatever. And in the Tang Dynasty, they liked also to end the many lines with a word of 3 characters. 3 characters. So it ends with ping ping ping, or tzu tzu tzu, or variations of both. So this is called trisyllabic foot. So the foot that consists of ping and tzu and ping and tzu could come in 2 syllables or 3 syllables, and sometimes even 4 syllables. Sometimes, rarely, but still happens. Okay, and they must contrast each other, must contrast in a couplet. For example, the first 2 lines, couplets meaning 2. So the first 2 lines is 1 couplet. The second, the third, and the fourth is called the second couplet. This is the first couplet. This is the second couplet. The first couplets, the lines should contradict each other. Okay, they should be variations. So here the first line starts with tzu tzu, then the second line starts with ping ping. And you can see this ends with tzu, this one ends with ping. But the second couplet is the same, but here we have to notice that the second line of the first couplet has to match at least the second syllables, has to match the first line in the second couplet, meaning the second line in the whole poem and the third line in the whole poem. But if the poem is longer than that, 8 lines or 6 lines or 10 lines, then it's better to look at it as couplet by couplet. So that we say it like this: the second line in the first couplet should match, especially the second syllable should match the first line in the second couplet, and so on for the third couplet, the fourth couplet, and so on. There is something called jan toi. Jan meaning parallel, and toi meaning antithetical couplet. This is just what I have said just now. What I have said, this is called antithetical. The first and the second line must be antithetical, but the second line and the third line must be parallels. Let's have an example. Like here, for example, this is the first line. Look, So the second syllable is so important. Why the second syllable is so important? Usually the second syllable and the fourth syllable, if it's wu and shi like this, meaning pentasyllabic meaning five syllables per line, 5 characters per line. If it's 5 characters per line, then the second and the fourth are the tones that determine the rhythm of the poem. If it's 7 characters, C and Sh, then it's the second, the fourth, and the sixth. Okay, the rhythm is not determined by the odd tones, not by the first and the third and the fifth. No, it's that we call it pivotal tones. Pivotal tones. This is the crucial, the central tones. It's the second, the fourth, and the sixth if it's 7 characters. So look at this here. The second syllable in the first line is different from the second one. So this is antithetical. But this line, ping, must be repeated in the second couplet, in the first line of the second couplet. So this is parallel. This is Jan. This is Toi. There is Toi. There is antithesis between the first and the second. And then we come back. The relationship between the first and the second line is always antithetical. Okay, so this is antithetical, this is parallel, this is antithetical, and then this is parallel, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope it's clear. When there is some, inversion meaning inversion, that's a poet changes the tsu into ping and the ping into tsu. For example, we call it shiji or shijan. That means there is a parallel missing or antithesis missing in the poem, in the line. There is something here we are going to introduce some features of classical Chinese poetry that are these features very important. We can't cover everything, of course, and we can't say everything about each point, but at least we'll try to have an idea. There is something called Goping. Goping, if we translate it into English, literally the orphan level tone. This Goping, there are some rules regarding this Goping. This, for example, here in this, it's Wu and Shi, pentasyllabic, or Ci and Shi, heptasyllabic. Goping occurs only when the poem has ping as rhyme, when it is ping rhymed poem, then we may run the risk of having this Goping, meaning what? Let me give you an example here. For example, if the poet changes the first, let's say the poet will change the first character here, this ping into tsu. Will change this ping into tsu. What will happen? What will happen is that we will have something called Goping, because the 2 ping left to us, they are separated by 2 tsu, by 2 or 3. 2 or 3 tsu separates the 2 ping. That means this is an error, or this is a defection. Let's call it, this is defection. It's shortcoming. It's shortcoming. It's something Chinese poets in the past didn't like, and they called it Goping. So they didn't want to have this ping isolated. So when it happens, they have to, this is called the inversion. When they change this ping into, it's called inversion. When this happens, they have what they have to do in the second line to do something called counter inversion. Counter inversion meaning they come to a tsu in the second line and they change it into ping to strike a balance in the rhythm. And this is the same whether it's 5 characters per line or 7 characters per line. It's the same. It's the same. And here also, this is another form, another pattern. It's the same idea. It's the same idea. If you change, for example, this ping into tsu, that means you left this one alone. Then this is another defection. it's okay if you leave zi alone in one line. For example, this line, zi, zi. If you change this zi into ping, it's okay, because the zi is the rhyme. It's fine. So having this gu zi is okay, but having gu ping is not okay. Let's have an example here. An example here, this ping, ping, zi, zi, ping. So it's the first ping, ping, zi, zi, ping. It's the first pattern, okay? Here, ping, ping, zi, zi, ping. The poet changed it to zi, ping, ping. He changed the first character, which is supposed to be ping. He used ji. Ji is zi, not ping. It's zi sheng, not ping sheng, right? So that means he changed. That means he left the ping here, gu ping, and this is defection. So what he did, he had to change in the same line to change the zi into ping. So he said xian, xian is ping. So he strike the balance again. He changed the first character, the tone of the first character from ping to zi into zi, and to make it up, he changed the third character from zi into ping. Okay. If the line is 7 characters, it's exactly the same idea, because the difference between the 5 character line and the 7 character is just the first 2 syllables. In the 7th, you just add 2 syllables at the beginning, whether they are ping or zi, but the rule is the same, exactly the same. Okay. Let's have another example, a poem by Tufo here. The original pattern is zi, zi, ping, ping, zi. Ping, ping, zi, zi, ping. The rhyme is ping. What Tufo did is that he changed the 4th tone from, it should be ping, but here, qing, chu, chu is zi. Okay. And this is, as I said, one of the pivotal tones, the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, one of the pivotal tones. So he had to make it up by changing the first ping into pa. That means change it into zi, change the ping into zi. And also change the zi into ping. Gui is ping. So in the end, the line would be read like zi, zi, ping, zi, 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 ping, ping, zi, ping. Okay, so this is inversion and this is counter inversion to strike a balance in the rhythm. Shui missing contrast when there is missing contrast when there is a contrast is the antithesis that I just explained. The difference between the ku shi and the li shi is that in the old time, the ancient verse, there was the identical tone on the 2nd and the 4th and the 6th syllables in each line of any couplet. It's okay if they have an identical tones in each lines, because as I said, tones were not so important in the ku shi. Tones became so important and central elements in the Chinese poetry in the Tang Dynasty. So in the Tang Dynasty, there must be a different tone on the 2nd syllable in each line of the couplet. Just as I gave you example, I don't know if you still remember, but I give you some examples, like here, for example, the 2nd tone is different here in the first line, different from the 3rd line. The 3rd and the 4th should be matching. So this is antithesis, this is parallel. And then the 3rd and the 4th come back to be to change again, okay? So when we miss this antithesis, this is called shui tui, missing contrast or missing antithesis. There is another feature, rhythmic feature in the regulated verse in the Li Shi, that's called Xia San Liang, meaning the last three ping. Xia San Liang, the last three, like this, for example, this pattern. Zi, zi, ping, ping, ping. Ping, ping, ping usually or sometimes can be just one word. Not necessarily, but could be. And if it's Qi and Shi, then it's the same. The San Zi Wei, this is one word. It has to be just one word, but doesn't have to be the same tone. So it can come as three ping or three zi or variations between ping and zi. And later on, the critics added more variations like zi ping ping, zi zi ping, and so on. So, but this is just one word that comes in any variation, or even just one tone. That's the inversion. Now that's the inversion. As I said, the second, the fourth, the sixth tone are the pivotal tones, the central, that if they change, the rhythm of the poem will be changed and might disturb the line rhythm. That's why there has to be a makeup. There has to be counter inversion, just like the example I've given here. Tofu, he changed the fourth tone, which is pivotal tone. So to make it up, he changed the first and the third in the second line. Okay, I will give you some examples of these inversions, and because sometimes it's compulsory and sometimes it's not compulsory. It's up to the poet to do it or not. Like obligatory inversion, if the first ping changed into zi, that means what will happen? That means you will have this grouping. You will have grouping the orphan one, because this is a rhymed one. So you have to change this zi into ping to have two ping in sequence, right? If you don't change this, that means you only have one ping and then the rhyme. The rhyme is not counted, so they are isolated by two zi, as I explained earlier. The same case and the same rule applied in the Qi and Shi. Obligatory inversion in couplets. If zi zi ping ping zi, if this ping changed, no, this is the couplet. If this ping changed into zi, so you have to, in the second line, the other zi must also be changed into ping. Again, for the sake of striking balance in the rhythm, and also to avoid this grouping, because again, if you change this into zi, the ping into zi, that means you have only one ping here. So you have to make it up. This is the 5 line, and the same rule is applied in the 7 character per line. That's Qi and Shi, heptasyllabic verse. Another example here, yeah, this is the example I've just given. This is the same rule. This is the same rule. To change it, so in order to avoid this grouping. Another example in pentasyllabic, meaning Wu and Shi, like here, this ping changed into zi, so that zi here was changed into ping. That's the example I've given. Here is a line by Wang Wei. You can check the line. Zi, zi, 3, 1, 2. No, he zi, zi, ping, zi, zi, ping, zi. No, 3 zi. Lower ru. I forgot that I missed that ru. So lower ru niao, meaning 3 zi, 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 zi. So he changed it from zi, zi, ping into zi, zi, zi. Okay. So what he did here in the third syllable, he changed the zi into ping, ren, well, this should be ren, ru, sorry, it's ru, yeah, it's ru. So here he didn't change the second one, he kept it actually, ping, zi. So actually he changed only the first line, not the second line. This is called the half inversion. Half inversion when just one line of the couplet is changed. I'll give you an example of it soon. So you see that poets don't have to strictly follow the rules, especially in the Tang Dynasty. The poets took liberty in following the rules whenever it suited them, and in deviating from the rules whenever it suited them. This is another example in the Tsi and Shi, the seven lines. Here, this is the fifth syllable changed from ping into tsu. So it's li, which is tsu, and here the tsu into should be changed into ping, but actually it's hong, which is still ping. So he actually changed it. Hong is ping, so it's correct. Yeah. So here he did it. While in the previous example, no, he kept it. The previous example, he kept this one as tsu, though he had the option to change it into ping, but he didn't do it. He did it here. That tsu should be changed into ping. He did that by using hong, which is a ping sheng. Another example here, the first ping changed into tsu, and so the third tsu changed into ping. And as you can see, the ping and tsu here had to be changed. So when he changed the ping into tsu, he had to change the other ping into tsu also. And this is the third tsu, also had to change it into ping. So to keep this antithesis and the parallel I have just explained. So see here, but again here, these are the rules, but we can see that the first she has not exactly changed. But what has changed is the third chong. This is exactly yes ping. And if we go to the second line, is it so, which is yes changed. And the third syllable, he's supposed to change it to ping, and he has changed it to ping tiang. So he made three changes, though he also had the right to, or the option, or the freedom, the liberty to change the first ping. So there are some inversions that are optional for the poet, like this first one, the ping could be changed into tsu. This is optional, like here. This is the first ping. It could be changed into tsu or remain as it is as ping. This is optional to the poets. Depends on the flow of his poetry, the muse, how it inspires him. Depends on the inspiration, the flow of his writing. And also the tse could be changed into ping or could stay as it is. This is called half inversion. There are other, actually, something called bobbing aid defects in the poem that poets usually try to avoid, but actually they don't really stick to these rules, or because we can find some of these defects still in the Tang Dynasty, like Li Bai and Tofu. In their poetry we can find it. So I will not go through all these details, but now I will give you an example of a poem by Li Bai, a very famous poem by Li Bai, and we'll see how we'll try to scan it meaning try to identify the pattern. Let me remind you of the patterns, the 4 patterns again. And so you try to identify the pattern yourself. This is the 4 patterns if it's ping rhyme. Okay, if you can take a photo, if you'd like to use your mobile to take a photo, do that. And this is the 4 patterns if it's tsu rhyme. So let me share with you another file. In this file, I will also try to explain to you the difference between formal and dynamic equivalence. I'm sure all of you studied it before, and you studied the translation theories by Eugene Nida. He wrote about this formal and dynamic and functional also equivalence. So we will take one of Li Bai's poetry, one of his poems, to just as a showcase to explain and to study it in terms of rhythm and how this rhythm can be translated into English. So I will try in this simple presentation is to demonstrate how formal equivalence and dynamic equivalence work in poetry translation, and examine their benefits and limitations, and also analyze some texts translation in both formal and dynamic equivalence. And to show how readers' response plays a great role. Readers' response is a theory, it's literary theory, okay? So it depends on you as a reader, how you would read the poem and how you would understand and analyze it. Okay,
Dr. Gouda?
Yeah?
Would we have time for a 10-minute break? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's have a break.
Thank you.
Okay.
See everybody again at 40.